Welcome back again to Last Week I Watched. I'm Mark and I watch and review movies and TV shows to help you decide whether or not they're worth your time or not. So, this week I want to talk about Don't Kill Me, The Weekend Away, The Guilty, Jimmy Savile, A British Horror Story, The Con Is On, and Cajillionaire. So let's talk about them. Okay, first up this week is Don't Kill Me. It's from 2021. It stars Alice Pagani, Rocco Fasano, and Silvia Calderoni, and it's showing on Netflix. So this one's about 19-year-old Myrta. She dies of a drug overdose with her lover Robin, but when she returns to life alone and she can't find Robin, she discovers she must consume living humans to survive. She then sets out to find what has happened to Robin, as they were supposed to be together forever in death, while trying to evade a mysterious sect which is determined to destroy her. This is an Italian film, so subtitles are definitely required on this one. It's a teen horror. It's based on a book by Chiara Palazzolo, and it bears more than a passing similarity to Twilight or Romeo and Juliet sans family hatred. It's also much more gory than Twilight and sexual, which is not unexpected for a European production. There's a lot of drugs, there's graphic suicide, murders, sex and torture, so I'm really not sure whether this is one for the teenagers or not, but it is rated at MA15, so I'll leave it up to your discretion. At least if you watch it with the teens, it might spark some discussion about some of the rougher elements in the story. One of the things I thought made it better than Twilight, though, was there is much less teen whining in this. Sure, there's still emo and Myrta gets overly intense with the bad boy, but at least she doesn't whine and bite her lip the entire run. And Robin's ultimately a pretty awful boyfriend, really, since he intentionally overdosed Myrta. He thought they'd likely be returned, as he'd witnessed his friend killed by an overdead. This is their version of a kind of combination vampire/zombie. Of course, there's an ancient sect and it's hunting and destroying the overdead. It's called the Benandanti, and apparently for centuries they hunted witches, but now they've moved on to overdead. I'm not sure, maybe they ran out of witches to kill. And Robin has done some kind of deal with them to spare him if he helps him destroy other overdead. All of the pieces are there for a franchise, and it's left open-ended. It's an okay film. It's better than Twilight, as if that can be considered high praise, but I doubt I'd watch it again. Checking online, there's no sign of a sequel so far, but I expect there could possibly be one, maybe one day. We'll see. If it sounds like something you might be interested in, then give it a watch. Certainly, if you're into Twilight, you'll probably enjoy this as well. But yeah, it's much less sort of romantic and sparkly, and quite a lot more gory. Anyway, up to you, check it out if you want. Okay, next up was The Weekend Away. It's from 2022, it stars Leighton Meester, Christina Wolf and Ziad Bakri, and it's showing on Netflix. So Beth, played by Leighton Meester, and Kate, Christina Wolf, they meet up for a weekend getaway in Croatia when Kate suddenly disappears after a night out drinking and clubbing. Beth searches for a friend, attempting to retrace their night out, only to find that Kate has been murdered. Ultimately, she comes under suspicion and she tries to find out what happened and clear her name. This is based on the 2020 novel by Sarah Alderson. The movie opens with a woman's body floating in the harbour, so straight out you can assume something goes horribly wrong. We're directly introduced to the ladies who've gone on a girls' weekend away. It's Croatia is very picturesque, very lovely, and as we get to know the ladies, it's clear that there may be some secrets beneath the surface of their relationship. Beth admits that recently having a baby has left her not feeling the sexiest, and her relationship with her husband Rob has cooled significantly. Kate is returning to being a social butterfly after her recent divorce, and suggests they go out clubbing and look for some men to get down with. The rest of the evening is a blacked out blur, and when Beth awakens the next day, she quickly becomes panicked when she can't find Kate. Enlisting the help of a friendly local cab driver, Zane, played by Ziad Bakri, they retrace their steps and try to piece together the evening. It's kind of like a deadly serious version of The Hangover, but in this case, a member of the party definitely is dead. He's not just on the roof beef on a mattress. And with people around Beth hiding secrets of their own, things turn pretty serious when it looks like maybe Beth has had a falling out with Kate and killed her. I enjoyed the movie actually. It's paced well, it never drags. Croatia looks very pretty and was somewhere that we'd actually had plans to visit before COVID, but for now it's sitting on our list of places to check out one day. Although I don't think I'll be going clubbing, partaking in any local gigolos, or engaging in any drug-fueled orgies. Also, I'm not sure I'd rely on the police for any help. They certainly weren't helpful in the movie. But any number of parties have their own secrets and motivations that add to the suspect list in the story. As the story barrels along to its conclusion reasonably quickly, it covers a lot of plot. People complained that the ending was a letdown, but while the first ending might look like it ended abruptly, the second ending adds an extra twist to the story. And I appreciated that. It all made sense in the end. It adds an extra dimension to motivations for the entire weekend. I did notice though that every man except Zane seems to be a terrible human being, and they don't redeem themselves at all. They never seem to grasp that what they do is wrong. They just stay terrible. And I understand that some men do pretty terrible things, but I'd like to hope we're not all terrible and that maybe some of these men would learn to be better as a consequence. I was glad that Zane stayed decent, as at one point they were casting suspicion on him, and I'm thinking, are any of these men good? But at any rate, the film only has so much runtime, so I guess the side characters stay as stereotypes. But it is something I'm noticing as a current trend in strong female-led movies. I hope it's not going to become a stereotype in itself, as I don't think all men are terrible. It's just as not all women are good. Reality is somewhere in the grey, and I think that writing needs to have a bit of sophistication with that. Overall though, I do think it's a good thriller and it's something enjoyable to watch with your lady. It's fun to unravel the mystery and try to solve the murder yourself, so check it out. Okay, next up was The Guilty. It's from 2021, stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Ethan Hawke and Riley Keough, and it's showing on Netflix. So, troubled officer Joe Baylor, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, he's been assigned to working in the 911 call center at night while he awaits a court hearing for a shooting incident that occurred while he was on duty. He answers a call from Emily, played by Riley Keough, who reveals that she has been abducted. Joe relays the information to the highway patrol, but he wasn't able to get enough information initially to locate her. As Joe frantically tries to collect more information to find her, it gradually starts to reveal a bigger picture about what's going on. So this is a remake of a Danish thriller. It's by the same name and it's written and directed by Gustav Moller, his debut film. The rights were acquired by Gyllenhaal and directed by Anton Fuqua from a script by Nick Pizzolatto. It was produced during COVID and at one point production was disrupted when a crew member tested positive, forcing Fuqua to direct the movie from inside a van. That's an amazing achievement, I think. This is a surprisingly tense thriller. It takes place over a single night in a single location. With the events taking place over the phone, each piece of information helps to expand the picture about what's actually going on. And over the course of the night, it significantly changes the picture as you get more information. During these tense events, Baylor also has his personal issues and stresses adding to the stress of the situation. Gyllenhaal does a really great job in the movie. The camera is on him pretty much the entire time, and he's often acting to a voice on a phone. He really makes you feel the panic he feels for the woman caller and concern for her children, mixed through with his own emotional state. He starts lashing out at his co-workers who really don't seem to deserve it and probably don't understand what's going on with him. But as the events play out, he starts to identify with Emily and he arrives at a conclusion that causes him to take responsibility ultimately for his own actions and finally finds some inner peace. It's a really good character piece. Apparently it was loosely based on pieces of true stories. It must be a really difficult job, I think, to briefly connect with people at the worst moments of their lives and try to help them through it. For the people they are unable to help to, it must really take a toll on the call workers. I thought it was a really good movie. It kept me gripped for the entire 90-minute runtime. It's worth your time. Check it out. I haven't seen the original Danish film though, but I'd be interested to compare them if I can find it somewhere. I'll keep an eye out for it. Okay, next up is Jimmy Savile, a British horror story. It's from 2022 and it's showing on Netflix. Obviously it stars Jimmy Savile and an assortment of other people. So this is a two-part documentary series about Jimmy Savile. He was a well-known British television and radio personality, and he was initially lauded for his charitable acts, but after his death, a long history of sexual abuse of children came to light. Part one of this documentary deals with explaining who he is and what he's known for. It starts with him as a radio DJ. He later becomes a host of BBC television shows Top of the Pops and Jim Will Fix It. Jim Will Fix It was a show where children would write in and, they with whatever wish they had or something that they wanted to do, and he would arrange it for them, which seemed like a lovely thing to do. He was also very well known for his charitable acts as well, earning an estimated £40 million, and he was wisely praised for his personal qualities and as a fundraiser. But he did also have a reputation for flamboyance and eccentricity, and he often made comments that quite openly, in hindsight, should have been a warning, really. But his charitable persona, I think, caused many people, even celebrities, royalty and government figures, to overlook the allegations and rumours. Part two deals with the fallout after his death, when the rumours could no longer be ignored and were starting to finally be taken seriously. And an ITV documentary examined claims about Savile, and this led to extensive media coverage and a substantial body of allegations from victims and witnesses. All of this finally combined to force Scotland Yard to investigate. After pursuing more than 400 lines of inquiry based on the testimony of 300 victims via 14 police forces across the UK, they were eventually forced to conclude that Savile was in fact a predatory sex offender. They also discovered he'd been abusing staff and patients at 28 hospitals around the UK for several decades. This is a fascinating documentary into the persona and machinations of what seems to be a highly intelligent and manipulative individual. It seems that his outrageous personality was a disguise to dismiss his other activities, and his charitable acts as a cover to enable his predations, really, creating a veneer that made him appear cleaner than clean and defensible to others around him. It's pretty shocking when you look at it and you ask, how did nobody ever notice or do anything about it? I guess people just didn't want to look too closely when they could see the good things that were being done, and that just kind of excused the rumours of the bad. The vast sums raised to build new hospital wards, etc., was certainly very welcome. It enabled him to move in circles with royalty, with senior government figures. And worse thing too is his reputation for charity work grew. It afforded him access he should not have had. The fact that he could walk in and work in hospitals with access to children just should not have occurred. And this created a great deal of long-term suffering for the victims. Very sadly, I feel, he passed away without ever suffering consequences for his actions, but at least his name, awards and achievements have been retracted and consigned to the flaming skip of infamy. People were so incensed that even his gravestone was ultimately removed. It's definitely worth a watch, so that if you know about this terrible man and his history, but more importantly, I think that it also might help you to recognise these behaviours as well. And if you ever see anything like this in anybody else going on around you, should definitely report it out there, because there's almost certainly another Savile out there somewhere, and that's pretty terrible, really. Check it out. It's a really sad and important documentary. Okay, next up is The Con Is On. It's from 2018, starring Uma Thurman, Tim Roth, Maggie Q, and it's showing on Prime. So Harriet, played by Uma Thurman, and Peter Fox, played by Tim Roth, they flee to LA after losing money belonging to Irina, played by Maggie Q, who's a notorious gangster. Peter meets his ex-wife Jackie, who is now married to a film director, and schemes to steal her £5 million, this is value not weight, blue sapphire ring, and give it to Irina to pay her back. Honestly, with a cast this good, I was expecting great things. It also features Alice Eve, Crispin Glover, Parker Posey, Sofia Vergara, and Stephen Fry. So I was expecting a cracking comedic crime caper. But sadly, it was not to be. Instead, it's a dull affair that just never seems to spark. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it just doesn't move. It doesn't sparkle with the kind of snap I'd expect from this sort of film. The cast are all excellent. They're clearly trying to do the best with what they can, but the film just fails to fire. The plot isn't anything that complicated, yet with all the dialogue it tries to be more complicated than it is. The scam is a dull affair too. We don't even have the tension of a heist to fall back on. I think maybe the pacing was off, or the direction. I'm honestly not sure. The whole thing just has like a weird feel. It's dull, it's awkward, it's quite clunky. It's ultimately a forgettable affair, really. I think it's definitely a meh film. I wouldn't recommend watching it. I really don't think it's worth your time. I was actually quite disappointed, and I struggled to sit through it. However, as it's only my opinion, though, I would like to point out that it has 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I discovered afterwards. So yeah, avoid that one. Okay, finally is Cajillionaire. It's from 2020, stars Richard Jenkins, Deborah Winger and Evan Rachel Wood, and it's showing on Prime. So old Dolio, played by Evan Rachel Wood, her life is turned upside down when her criminal parents Robert, played by Richard Jenkins, and Teresa, played by Deborah Winger, they invite an outsider into their latest rip-off scheme. So this isn't a laugh-out-loud comedy. It is billed as a comedy, but I think it's actually more of a drama, just with some funny sort of elements in it. The family is strange. The parents are clearly paranoid conspiracy theorists, and they live outside of the norm. They're sort of well out in the fringe, and they've raised their daughter Old Dolio, named after a homeless person they knew, with their twisted view of the world. Their day-to-day life seems to consist of running various scams to steal items, obtain money, and deal with the sort of scheduled flooding of the office space that they live in. At a semi-regular time, foam from the business next door pours in through the walls or over the walls somehow and into the office space where their things are. It's quite strange. Dolio is not treated as a daughter. She's treated more as an accomplice by her parents, and consequently she's quite emotionally stunted. She really doesn't know how to connect with people. She's got no real experience with a real sort of normal life. While running an insurance scam on lost luggage because they urgently need to earn a big lump sum to avoid being evicted, they encounter Melanie, and she seems to be initially interested in, I guess, the fun of their lifestyle. She vicariously enjoys the thrill of participating in some of their scams, but drops out when the parents attempt to initiate a threesome with her, which was pretty weird. Melanie later offers to try to make up for the potential milestones that old Dolio missed from her parents. Dolio's blameless, I think, in all of this. She only knows how she's been raised. Her parents are absolutely terrible people. They really don't care about her at all, and she's just a means to an end for them. Ultimately, when they have a chance to let her go to experience life how she wants to, they still strip away everything on the way out. I'm not quite sure what the message of this film is, but I suspect it's perhaps value in relationships and intimacy with others rather than obtaining material possessions. But let me know what you think. I thought the cast did a great job. Richard Jenkins does a great job as the patriarch. Evan Rachel Wood really embodies the awkwardness and lack of social skills despite her street smarts. She also does quite I thought it was a strange voice, which I'm informed online is apparently closer to her actual real voice, which is much deeper than how she usually acts. I overall enjoyed it. It's quirky, it's unusual. It's quite strange in that it doesn't really have a story. There's no sort of ultimate goal as such. It's just more a character study on these strange people. It's sort of kind of a slice of life. Let's spend a few days with these strange people and how they live. It's original though, and it's something quite different, so I do recommend checking it out if you're in the market. That's something outside the norm. Okay, so those are my suggestions for this week. I hope some of those are of interest. Again, a bit of an eclectic mix in there. As always, if you liked my reviews and found them helpful, please do click on the like and subscribe button, and don't forget the little bell so you receive notifications when the next one comes out. And feel free to leave any comments below. If you've seen any of these and you want to talk about them, please do write something below, and I'm happy to talk with you about them. Also on screen is my Twitter link. I tweet as I'm watching things, so if you want to come on there and tweet at me as well, feel free. I hope that everything's good with you. Stay safe, enjoy some movies and TV, and I'll see you next week for some more films and TV reviews. Thanks for watching. Bye now.